was a pretty tough day. But let's get started. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for February 1st, 2019. The Qs and SPY started off gapping down just a little bit, tried to rally, and now closing close to the lows, down 0.43 on the Qs and about flat on the SPY. Did go negative for a bit, but we're getting a little bit of a bounce here. We got about 14 minutes left. Okay. So what I'm going to be watching here going into next week is this hourly. Okay, we're getting a bit of an hourly pivot here, 20 MA rising. If we break basically today's low, you can even scoot that back a little bit, basically 269. Okay, the hourly uptrend will be broken. We'll shift back to neutral. Okay, we've been bullish on the SPY and the Qs for the last 2 days. Okay, on the 2 days here, once we broke over this resistance last couple days. And then we acknowledged yesterday that we were at resistance, not a good time to initiate longs. We weren't able to make a new high, and then we're getting just a little bit of a pullback. If we're able to base out sideways, that would be more bullish. Okay, but if we break, we'll shift to neutral. Getting a bearish bias is going to be tough because I think if we break this pivot, we're going to come in. Next area, it looks like, is going to be based on this resistance here, so around 166, or it was resistance, became support. Next area, if we break, look for support around 166. Okay, on the SPY, if we break today's low sometime next week, then we'll be looking for around 266.80 on the SPY there. Okay, just the previous area that was resistance, we broke through it, so now we have minor support there. Okay. Otherwise, if we, go back up, we remain bullish, or we go sideways, that's also bullish. So we're only going to change our bias if we break today's low. Okay. If we break today's low, then like I said, next area of support is based on that previous resistance. Okay. So same thing that we've said all week. It's earnings season. Big names with big surprises or disappointments can move the market. So far, the market hasn't been moving all that much, but surprisingly, I haven't felt like the opportunities that we've got have been all that easy either. So we can start. I had 2 calls, neither of them triggered. So we'll start with the one that came out first. Was the ISBC. Was watching it on a pullback here. Okay, on the 2-minute, I'll show you the gap first because that gap, I liked clearing resistance yesterday. I don't like that it got a big bottoming tail. Of course, I would have preferred if this were a wide range red bar that we were gapping over. But I like that we were breaking multiple levels of resistance here and wanted to see more follow through on this higher. So the first call was a 2-minute buy setup right here. And I said over 67, I believe. By 62, and it never triggered. So it was over this, like the buy setup already triggered. I wanted to see a secondary entry over 67 and just never triggered, and then came back in instead. There was an idea given just over this base for a breakout, but that I didn't call. So it was this pullback I was looking for. Once this kind of came in, the uptrend was a little bit damaged, and so just this one was called. I like the reward to risk. That was a nice tight reward to risk, and like the gap enough. It's just now it started to weaken once this uptrend was broken. So he broke even this previous pivot on the way back down. And then the next one was the DGII was a call. Called this one at lunch. If we got over this, see another secondary entry here. We got a 15-minute pullback. 5-minute was a breakout. And so if we got over this first attempt to go higher, you probably see a general theme in my trading. I do look for these secondary entries quite often. So yeah, over this bar here, looking for it higher. Here was the daily chart. Okay, gapping over some resistance there. Is coming from a green bar, unfortunately, but clearing some resistance. A lot of stuff that was gapping is coming from green bars because the market was pretty bullish the last couple days. Okay, and so I was looking for more continuation. Maybe we get back up to the highs as a target one, but it ended up coming in instead. So no trigger on that. So those were the only 2 calls for me. Neither of them have triggered. I thought the best play today, I had CY as the #1 gap today, coming out of the pre-market there. I like that. It was also clearing all this resistance. I thought it was fine for a 1 minute high-low. I was just a little bit too slow. I liked it over 60, and then I was waiting for this 1 minute bar to finish forming. You can see it started to break 60, and once it broke 60, you can see it was a pretty almost clean shot up 40 cents, and by then it was too late. So I didn't go chasing it. I guess this pullback would have worked as well. But that was, I had that as #1 gap. Only on the #1 and 2 gaps do I do any kind of 1 minute high lows. But I was just waiting for that 1 minute to finish, and I just really kind of got going there before the first minute finished. But I think it was okay. It would have been like 60 by 55, a very, very tight stop as well. This ended up being 64 by 55 by the time this finished forming, but that really just, once it broke 60, took off. So I thought that was a pretty good gap though on the CY. Coming from a red bar, volume came in on this, so that means there was some conviction in that selling, and then we reversed it, clearing lots of resistance, right? So, and some room above. So not too bad, I thought, on the CY. Okay, and now we're looking at the CLS, which I still have. I will probably just have to bring this down to 11, I guess. Yeah, over 11. And it will make barely anything. But we're out of time. I am not intending to hold this as a swing. It was meant to be a day trade from the very beginning. So that's what it will remain. All right, so I'll update that. We'll see if I have enough time here to do it manually before the close. All right, so just to recap here, focus on the Qs and SPY going into Monday is going to be this hourly pivot here. If we break underneath, we're looking for that next area of support around 166 on the Qs, okay? And then on the SPY, around 266.50, okay? If we break this pivot, that's what we'll be looking for. Bias for now remains bullish, okay? Neutral to bullish. Focus again for the rest of the next week and probably the week after will be on the stocks that are gapping after reporting earnings or giving guidance. Sometimes they step up a little bit early to give some kind of forecast or give some kind of guidance. So that's what we'll be watching next week. Still expecting some decent trading next week. Okay, so just make sure you get a good amount of review in of this week and are ready to go next week. We are in full swing as far as earnings season goes, so I need to start, making it count. Okay. All right. So I hope everyone has a nice weekend. We'll see what the market brings us on Monday, and I will talk to you then. All right. Have a good weekend.